One of my favorite jokes is an English joke which is untranslatable into Russian, but it is about Soviet Union, so it is more relevant for those who grew up there. And it says that when it used to be, when you wanted to leave the Soviet Union, you had to apply for the exit visa. So, within the Soviet Union. And in one of such applications, a Jewish person came to apply for such visa and was interviewed by one of the officials, Soviet officials. And the questions were, well, you received an excellent education in this country. Do you like it? Did you like it? Well, I can't complain. Okay. Well, you received an excellent medical care in this country. Why you wanted to leave now? So what happened? Did you like it? Well, I can't complain. Okay. So, and overall life in the Soviet Union is perfect, right? So, well, I can't complain. So, you said that you like everything. What's the reason why you would like to leave? Well, I can't complain. So, and exactly 30 years ago, in August 1991, hardline members of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union organized a coup with an attempt to take control of the Soviet Union from its leader, Mikhail Gorbachev. They were against Gorbachev's focus on decentralization of power from the Communist Party. The coup met with a strong civil resistance and failed in just 3 days. Gorbachev came back to power, but it was the beginning of the collapse of the Communist Party and the Soviet Union, in fact, the dissolution of the USSR just 4 months later, in the beginning of the new era of political and cultural landscape of the world, really. Although I was born in the Soviet Union, I was only 2 when it collapsed, and I don't really have any personal experience or attachment of living under the Communist Party. There are many legends and stories about the life in the USSR, both inside and in the outside. Most of them are portraying the Soviet life from a negative perspective. There are many reasons to do so, but for me, it is more than politics and ideology. For me, the Soviet life is the life of my parents, grandparents, my teachers, and some of my friends, the life of people I know and deeply respect. לא תראה את שור אחיך או את שיו נידחים והתעלמת מהם. If you see your fellow's ox or sheep straying, do not ignore it, but be sure to take it back to its owner. Torah instructs us to look after each other. It doesn't say to check their political views first and only then help. If people need help and support, and you can provide it, do not ignore it. Don't disappear. Don't pretend that you can't see it. When we learn something, we always begin with clear categories and rules. However, when we acquire some experience, we learn that there is a nuance, and there are some exceptions. Torah law and Judaism in general reflect this principle. When you read this week's parasha, you learn that there are men and women, different types of fabric, and it is not allowed to mix them and some other clear categories in life, according to the Torah. But then you keep reading other literature, other Jewish literature, and you learn a nuance. You learn that life isn't black and white, and most of us live in a complex, multicolored world. The world with more than one gender, with difficult relationship between law and ethics, between intent and reality. There are 2 examples of it in this parasha, in Ki Tetzeh. The one is about sending away the mother bird, and the other is about stubborn and rebellious child. When Torah instructs us about Shiluach Haken, sending away the mother bird, it says that this mitzvah provides a long and good life to a person who performs it. We just read it. Another mitzvah that promises a long life is honoring one's parents. The same formula, v'ha'arachta yamim, and your days will be long, the days of your life will be long. The Babylonian Talmud tells us a story of the sage Elisha ben Abuya. He saw a father instruct his child to get some eggs from a tree. The child climbed the tree, sent away the mother bird, everything according to the Torah, but suddenly fell down and died. Here, the child fulfilled both the obligation to honor his parents and to send away the mother bird, yet he had not received a long life. Elisha ben Abuya was so shocked by what he saw that he became a heretic and abandoned Judaism. Many people take a position all or nothing when it comes to religious law. Whether it is a religious or any other, or the Jewish religion or any other religion. However, like in many other areas in life, there are many shades in the spectrum between black and white, and there's nuance that we always need to consider. Let's look at the second law. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father or mother or will not listen to them, his parents shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders at the gate of his town. They shall say to the elders, "This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey us." Then all the men of his town shall stone him to death. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 18 and further. The apparent harshness of the law led great Babylonian Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai to conclude that there never was or ever will be a stubborn and rebellious son in the world. Why then was it written in the Torah? So that we should expound the law and receive reward. The law was, in his view, a matter of theory rather than practice. In both cases, the clear category in the Torah is reverted or blurred or practically cancelled in rabbinic interpretation of the Jewish law. It took Judaism more than 1,000 years to add important Torah interpretations in writing, declare them sacred oral Torah, and to make it clear that not all Torah laws should be observed exactly as they are written in the scripture. This week, the world is trying to understand the nature of Sharia law, Muslim religious law. This week, the world was a witness to the return of Taliban and its rise to power in Afghanistan. The word Taliban means students in Pashto language. This movement emerged in the early 1990s following the withdrawal of Soviet troops from Afghanistan. It's believed that this movement first appeared in religious seminaries. The promise made by the Taliban in some areas of Pakistan and Afghanistan was to restore peace and security and enforce their understanding of Sharia once in power. I'm not an expert in Muslim law, but I understand the nature of religious texts and their interpretation. Religious law is not radical by definition. Religious law is as harsh and cruel as people who execute it are. Religious law is always a matter of interpretation. Political and religious leaders can make a real difference to people's lives and still be respectful to religion. Prophetic literature is an example of such leadership. Jewish prophets often criticized the corrupt leaders who used their power to oppress rather than support, who turned a blind eye to the cries of their people. Jewish prophets often spoke a hard and unpleasant truth to power. And it is a hard truth, realistic and pragmatic approach that gives us hope. Hope that although there are many problems, many issues, the world can be better. Although the law follows corrupt and unjust interpretation, it can change and people can live in a free society and without fear. Meanwhile, while some people are working on fixing the mistakes and interpretation of the law, all of us are commanded to look after each other. Jewish law doesn't say to check people's political and religious views before you help them. If people need help and support, and you can provide it, lo להתעלם, don't ignore it. Don't pretend that you can't see. The one who saves one life saves the entire world. If we can support people running away from war, persecution, and oppression, we should not ignore this call, be it for 20,000 people or 200,000 people. לא תוכל להתעלם. Don't pretend that you do not see them. Let's hope that one day there will be no need for people to flee from their country, from oppressive regimes, radicalized religions, and corrupt politicians. But for now, we should do everything we can to help, to support, to save, to show compassion. This hope can only come from realistic and pragmatic approach, the approach that says that our understanding of religious law is the one that is beyond borders and political views, the one of compassion, support, help to those who need it now. Ken yehi ratzon. May this be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.